What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter live stream. And today we are going to dive into some specific franchise opportunities, and one being a resale showing over $300,000 in sellers' discretionary earnings. We're also going to dive into Papa John's. You ever wonder how much Papa John's franchise cost? What their sales are, what their royalties and fees are. And we're going to dive into some other interesting information that we believe might be helpful for you in your franchise buying journey. Very quickly, before we do that, we have something to show you. All right. If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnston. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with our head of brokerage, Mr. Mark Magerman. Mark, good to see you.
Good afternoon, Tarek. Good to see you too.
Do you watch Pat McAfee, the Pat McAfee show?
Yeah, I'm not a regular. My son's a fanatic, and he fills me in on it. So yeah, I do watch some of it, but no, not really. I know. I know he's pretty funny, and he's got a lot of followers.
He is. Yeah, he is pretty funny. I'm like, do I have to start saying outrageous things to like really start sprucing up our ratings? And
he certainly feels that way. And I'm not sure if you know it or not, but he was a punter in the NFL. I mean, he was just a punter, and then retired and became this. And I think many of his followers would never even know that he was an NFL player before.
Yeah, he's got quite the dynamic personality.
He certainly does.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's dive into it. So we're going to talk about our featured resale today, resale of the week. And we got a good one today for you guys. We've been getting access to some more quality resales for sure. And so this one is in North Carolina. Again, we keep the specific brand and specific location confidential. If you're interested in this specific resale and want to know more about it, reach out to us. And after signing an NDA, we can get you connected with more specifics and as well as introduced to the seller. But this is a home improvement business. It was established in 2018, so it's 7 years mature. And the asking price is $1.2 million. The gross sales in 2024 provided by the seller was $1.6 million. The owner is retiring, which is one of the best scenarios, in my opinion, in which to buy an existing business because it's often very legitimate. They're like, hey, I'm done. I'm ready to relax and chill. And the business is still performing well. This business has 5 employees, including the owner. And they state that they have gross profit margins of 44%, which I would say that 44% gross profit margins are low. I think oftentimes like what I'd like to see is like 50 to 60% gross profit margins, but they list seller discretionary earnings as $342,000. For those of you guys who know what seller discretionary earnings might be. Mark, what's your take on it? And do you want to just kind of give a quick explanation of seller discretionary earnings for those who might not understand?
Sure. Seller discretionary earnings is really interesting. It's seller discretionary earnings as authored by the seller, right? So the seller is saying, this is how much money is available to the owner at the end of the year. So this seller is saying that we did $1.6 million in sales in 2024. And as the owner, I was able to take $342,332 and put that aside. That's what the owner's saying. But it doesn't mean that anybody buying that business from him is going to have those same sets of numbers. And that's where a lot of people lose track of the process, right? Because if this business has been around for 7 years and the seller has paid off his note and he no longer has any debt on that business, then that 342 is going in his pocket. Any new owner who does take debt, that debt service has to come off the top of that. So that's really where it comes down to making sure you're doing due diligence. I always say, make sure we have a good accountant, have someone who can help you analyze these numbers, because my guess is any new owner is not going to recognize 342. Now, that doesn't mean that the asking price is not worth it, however. It means it could be, but that's what seller discretionary income is. but always remember it's the seller who's saying that's what it is. So it's got to be verified. You've got to double check it. And it's no one's fault if you don't and you go forward with it. But it's usually not the same number. And I totally agree with you, Tarek. 44% gross margin. Again, just to make sure I'm explaining it, it's not net margin, right? Net profit would be what's the bottom line profit after everything's done. Gross margin typically is if you take your sales, you back out your labor, and you back out your material costs, that would be your gross. And I agree, anything between 50 and 60 is really ideal. Again, it doesn't mean it's not a good business. It doesn't mean it's not worth it, but I would like to see that number a little bit higher.
Yeah, all very, very good points. Which is why, we have over 100 resales in our portfolio that we have access to, and may even be more now that we've been gathering more and more. And I'll pick a variety to highlight in this newsletter. It's just one of many. But sometimes the cheaper price ones that aren't as rosy could be better opportunities. We've had, as an example, a client that bought a resale that was it needed a lot of love. It was a turnaround opportunity. The previous owner had other businesses, wasn't showing it much attention, and basically got to buy it for pretty much just the franchise fee, and was able to start rocking and rolling with that resale pretty quickly. But the numbers wouldn't have looked attractive at all. You would have saw that the business was losing money. And so that is something to consider, that, hey, if you're buying something for 1.2 million, there is debt service. So you're going to have to factor in your cost of your loan payments. And just to kind of piggyback on Mark's point, is that sometimes what's factored into seller discretionary earnings are some intangibles, like if they pay for their car note through the business, or if they pay for something else through the business. And although they may not be paying themselves directly with that, they pay for that thing, and they're getting that sort of kind of financial benefit from the business. So doing due diligence on resales is it's definitely more complicated. That's also why for our clients, we provide them a whole online training modules, and one of them is around how to do due diligence
Right.
with resales, because it requires a different skill set for sure.
No doubt. I'd be remiss if I didn't make one more point on this specific one, Tarek, which is 5 full-time employees, including the owner. That says to me there's 4 plus the owner. So the owner, that sounds like the owner has a job that the business is dependent upon. So if the person buying that business doesn't intend to do that job, that's another cost associated with that, right? So again, you got to read between the lines and understand what it's saying, but there's 5 people. The owner's one of them. He's working full-time in the business doing XYZ. If that owner goes away, that XYZ is not getting done. So what are you going to do? Burden the 4 employees you have with that role, or you're doing it yourself, or you're hiring somebody else, which will you don't know. For all you know, the owner isn't paying himself for that job. So again, just all these little things that come up that you're obligated to get the answers to. And frankly, the seller's not overly obligated to fill the gaps in for you. That's not their role. So again, just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you got to know it.
Guys, do you hear how great Mark sounds? Just so you know, Mark officially has a podcast microphone now. Do you hear how crystal clear and smooth he is?
Yeah, Tarek made me have to work for the company for a year, and I had to go through all these different bells and whistles and hoops to earn the right to have this very nice microphone. So I'm very, very gracious. I sleep with it under my pillow. It's very, very, very comforting.
Oh man, it might give you some electricity.
It may.
All right, so our take. I mean, we pretty much already gave our take, but it is rare to find a business to buy that has a multiple 6 figures of SDE. Number one, but the price is reflective of that. Again, to Mark's point, this is for an owner operator, not for someone looking for an absentee business. This is for someone who intends to be full-time in their business. And this would be best served for someone who, of course, we already talked about hands-on operator full-time, but you've also managed people in whatever previous roles you've had. It's a lot. It's a big bite to chew and take on if you've never managed, if you've never hired, managed, fired, trained people under your leadership to come in and buy a business that already has employees would be taking on a much higher level of risk. It's different when you're first starting out because you're kind of easing into it. You can hire 1 or 2 people at a time. You can grow your leadership lid to come in and do something you've never done before with the team and not have managed. That would be pretty tricky. So
one more point, if I could, Tarek. I made a note and I skipped over it, but if you can scroll up just a little bit,
sure.
Where they list the 2024 gross sales at 1.6 million, which is good. One of the things you'll do as you're doing your due diligence is you'll convert that to trailing 12 months. So I'm just going to spend a minute and discuss that, right? So what this says is that from January 1st to December 31st of 2024, they did 1.6 million. What it doesn't say is what's been their business like since January 1st of 2025 through today's date, October 6th, 2025. You don't know. If this was presented as trailing 12 months, what that means is this is the revenue and the gross sales we generated in the last 12 months. I find that to be a much more impactful number and a much more bankable number. So again, just another thing to think about if you're interested in this resale. Get the seller to give you 12 trailing months of revenues, a lot more realistic. Because for all you know, they had something catastrophic happen to this business, and the business isn't doing 1.6 million now; it's doing 800,000. Good to know that. Sorry, I meant to mention that earlier. I apologize.
No, it's all good. And I've also seen the other scenario where the business started doing better, and then the owners will come back and raise the price.
Well, you know that's going to happen. If the business is better than last year, absolutely, that's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. Well, if you're interested in this specific resale in North Carolina, or if you want to know if there are any franchise resales available in your area and what is available in your area, you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales and be able to schedule a quick call with our team, and we'll be able to dig in to see what is available in your area and your market overall. All right. Yes. Yes.
The Office. What an amazing show that was.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. So let's celebrate one of our newer franchisees. And this was one of Chris's. And I know, Mark, you're talking to Chris and our brokerage team every day. So you're just in tune on these people. I'm sure you've heard their names and talked about them time and time again. So you want to tell us a little bit about Cheryl and her situation and kind of how we helped her?
Sure. Chris did an amazing job with this candidate because she really came to us. She was kind of all over the board, frankly. She's like, I want this, I want that. I kind of call it shiny penny. Oh, I like this, I like that, I like this. So she'd been searching for the right franchise in her area for many, many years. She was from healthcare and business background, including she actually was in the assisted living facility space. So she came in thinking, I want to stay in that category, but she knew what she wanted, a brand that aligned with her expertise, values, and long-term vision. As it turned out, it didn't necessarily need to be in the healthcare business that she knew, because Chris, by working with Chris, she realized that her skill sets were transferable to lots of other different industries. So that kind of sprangboard the conversation and opened up a lot more opportunity. And once she partnered with Chris, those things started to click. They looked at multiple opportunities, narrowed down options, and found one that checked every single box. She's now the proud owner of 3 territories in the Bay Area and is bringing all her drive into that new space. Chris shared that he felt honored to be part of her journey, and there's no doubt she's going to make a major impact. And I would say that Chris did an amazing job, because there's a lot of times in dealing with Cheryl that she just kind of changed her mind, and things that happen every single day. And because we have a very professional brokerage team here, and Chris is a complete pro, he was able to utilize what she's looking for. He pushed back a little bit and said, you said this is what you wanted. And now she's going to start her territory up in the San Francisco area, and she's going to kill it. So these are exactly the kind of reasons why people should come to brokers. We hope you choose Franchise Empire, but we're really good at focusing on what's important to you and spitting that back to you in the format of these are the brands that might be aligned. And there were a couple times that we didn't think she was going to go forward, but sure enough, she did. So good for Chris, but mostly good for Cheryl.
Yeah. Congratulations, Cheryl. Congratulations on realizing and your entrepreneurial dream and goal and becoming an entrepreneur. Mark, I don't think I told you about this, but I got asked on Friday. I got in, I think it was on Thursday. It was before I started feeling sick. I started getting sick on Friday. I had like the chills. I had like a 24-hour flu kind of thing. But I got reached out to by a franchisor, one that's actually in our platform, saying, "Hey, we had we're having our franchisee conference here in Clearwater, Florida, one of our keynote speakers backed out. Will you come and speak to our franchisees?" Nice. And I did, and it's one of I'll tell you about it later. It's one of the ones that are in our system, but it was cool just to connect with franchisees who are many of them are newer. Some of them hadn't even launched yet. And just, the optimism, the excitement, the nervousness. And one of the things that I shared with them is how scared I was after signing our first franchise agreement and taking that $300,000 loan out of our house. And that, so many people starting a business try to suppress the feeling of fear, where, what I did was that drove me, and I was able to really transmutate the fear into drive and resourcefulness because I was so scared of failing. It was like a shot of adrenaline where it kind of created the superhuman strength and just saying, like, use that to your advantage. It's good to feel nervous and scared. What did you feel after you guys, wrote that? I think you said you guys had to pay almost like $1 million in franchise fees to buy all the territories you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, everything you just said, it's exactly true. Excited, titillated, and anxious to get started, but nervous as heck. I mean, you're putting your life savings on the line. So you can do all the homework you want. It's not going to ease that stress. And if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be human. So the bottom line comes down to sticking to your guns and following the plan. I'll add it, because I know Chris and Cheryl were really hard on this, and this might sound kind of corny. I don't mean it to sound that way, but all of the brokers who work with us have all been successful franchisees or franchisors and business owners in their own right. So we've had that experience. We've worked hard. We've seen the fruits of our labor. We've exited it strongly. We're very proud of what we accomplished. And when you've done it, right? It's almost like if you can do it, it ain't bragging. But in our role, and the reason I think our brokers, you'd have to ask the brokers directly, but I have. The reason they became brokers is they love the thought of helping other people find that same opportunity, right? So it's really rewarding for us as brokers to work with a candidate who we're meeting, we don't know them when we start, and then getting to the point where not only do we feel that we know them well, but they really appreciate the work that we've done for them. And that's the reward that we have. And I'll share a quick little story. And maybe this is a candidate that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, because they're a relatively new success story they bought 2 territories recently. And I got a phone call from them. I got a text from them, I should say, Saturday morning. And my wife and I were out doing things. And he's like, "Mark, do you have 5 minutes?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" So I said, "Sure." So I called them. They had a couple of questions about something that they were looking on for a space that I gave them my best feedback. But then they said, "Mark, we really want your address because we'd like to send you a thank you note or something." And I said, "I'll be real honest with you guys." It was a husband and wife team. I said, "I'm not giving you my address because I don't want you to send me anything. But the fact that you're saying that you'd like to is the gratification we're looking for. Our gratification at Franchise Empire is to help people fulfill the dreams that we've done before. And honestly, it's just very rewarding." That's why I say it's kind of corny. Some people might say, "Yeah, you're full of baloney." I really mean it. That's why I do it. When you and I met, that's why I got into it, right? We made plenty of money running our 14 restaurant Five Guys. We made plenty of money. It's not about money, but it's about how can you help people, keep people out of trouble, number one, but the reward for when you get people to finally sign up and you see their level of excitement and then you follow their journey as they become successful. That's why we do what we do.
100%. It's kind of like the analogy, especially for any of you parents watching, and then we'll dive into Papa John's and how much they cost and how much they make and all that good stuff. But is the analogy that I've been experiencing, or the metaphor, whatever the phrase is coaching my son's soccer team. And, it's being the athlete and then being the coach that coaches the athletes are very different. Many times at a certain point, like, the athlete's time to hang it up, right? Or time to shift into being a coach and helping other athletes. And one of the kids at this point, Caleb's really good. So we know he's going to score every game. He's averaging 3 goals a game. So of course I get excited because it's my son scoring, but it's like the expectation now. And one of the other kids on his team scored this past weekend, and he hadn't scored a goal all season. And I was just like through the moon, like, yes, like so excited for him. And so that's kind of like what I'm feeling as you're saying that feeling that we have for someone, because we're so excited for you and what's to come, and just especially when you can see the potential in someone,
right?
Where it's like you see something that they're maybe a little bit uncertain about themselves, where it's like, no, I see that you can really crush it, like based on your personality, the way you show up, how savvy you are, and they're like, you think so? I don't know, and it's like, yeah, looking forward to chatting in like 2 years to see how you're doing. So.
Exactly.
That's kind of what that reminded me of.
Exactly.
All right, guys, franchise of the week. Let's dive into Papa John's. Papa John's. All right, so you may have driven by one of these bad boys or eaten at one of them and thought, I wonder how much money I could make if I owned a Papa John's. I'm a big fan of their garlic and butter sauce, by the way, and dipping the crust in there. Quite tasty. But in 1984, John Shatner sold his 1971 Camaro to buy some used pizza equipment. And he then set up shop in the back of his father's tavern in Indiana, not in a shiny kitchen, but in a broom closet. And from that tiny space, he started baking pizzas with one big promise: better ingredients, better pizza. Mark, already, I think, the story's pretty cool. The fact that, he sold the car that he loved in order to start his business is pretty awesome. I actually remember making a similar sacrifice, didn't quite lead to a multi-billion-dollar company like this did for John. But when I had gotten my first job in personal banking, I had this beat up Honda Civic. The hood had flipped up while I was driving one time, so it had creased down the middle of the hood. The heat didn't work, and in Virginia, it would get very cold in the winter, so I would drive with gloves on, like a pullover hat. What do they call those hats? A beanie. And I'd have my big Carhartt jacket on, which I still have that jacket too. And I'd be, trying to stay warm driving that car. And so I remember getting my first job in banking, and I bought an Infiniti G35. This was about 2008. So it was a 2006 Infiniti G35. And I just thought, I was just balling, just thought it was the most amazing thing. And fast forward about a year later, I wanted to buy a house. And so I sold my Infiniti G35, traded it in for a Ford Fusion. I had about like $4,500 of equity in the vehicle, which was quite rare for that to happen. And I used that to pay off some credit card debt that I had so that I could be in a position to buy my first home. Come to find out, actually, this story takes a turn, Mark, because when we were looking at buying our second franchise location, which was a resale that was not making money. So you can't get an SBA loan. You got to pay cash. And I wound up selling that house that I had bought 7 years before, and using the equity, the money I made from that house, to buy my second franchise location.
Smart. Well, you were personal financing. You weren't going to make any little silly mistakes. Good for you.
But I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think, every tremendously successful company has a start similar to how you're describing this one, right? Because they don't start off with 1,000 locations. You got to start somewhere. And we didn't talk about the Five Guys, and maybe one of the days Five Guys will be on this list. But the story of how that business started, if you found out how it started, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Because all you think about is the success of it. But somewhere, somehow, someone had a great idea, sacrificed everything they had to make it work. And that's what makes America great, doesn't it? That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, 100%. So guys, don't be afraid to take a step backwards. I mean, a slingshot, you got to pull it back in order for it to leap forward. So I know it can be humbling at times. I remember going from being a financial advisor, wearing custom fitted suits with cufflinks, and talking about where we're going to put someone's $400,000 to invest, to just a month after that, washing a sink full of dishes in my franchise that I owned, and mopping the floors, and taking out the trash. And so, but totally worth it. So anyways,
you know what? It's a great point. I know I don't want to go off on these tangents, but if you cannot suppress that ego in yourself, then you're probably not going to do well in franchising. It's part and parcel to that success. And I have the exact same story to share about getting potatoes cut and balling meat into patties and smelling like peanut oil for the first 2 years. That was anything but glamorous, and it was far from my VP of sales marketing role I had for 5 years prior, where I had my expense account and people were asking me what I needed. If you don't have that ability to suppress that, that's a really good sign that you might not be destined for franchising. So know yourself.
And entrepreneurship in general, not even
correct.
exclusive to franchising. It's,
Correct.
Most entrepreneurs you hear about, they take step backwards typically before they take step forwards. All right. So obviously that worked out for Mr. John Shatner. By the 1990s, Papa John's exploded in popularity. They went public in 1993. They were also a pioneer in tech, becoming the first national pizza delivery chain to launch online ordering in 2001, which is pretty cool. Right. We at Franchise Empire are big believers in tech and being innovative in that area as well. And Papa John's had some iconic food moments. The garlic butter dipping sauce, which was introduced in 1984, completely changed how people eat their crust. It's so good. I mean, it's delicious. Probably like 400 calories just for like one little dipping packet, but that's okay. I guess
if you're eating a Papa John's pizza, you're hopefully not too overly concerned about the calorie intake for that meal, I don't think.
No, although I think a lot more people should be, but
no doubt about that.
And then in 2019, Shaq joined the brand as a franchisee and board member. Launched the oversized Shaq-a-roni pizza with 60 plus pepperonis. And now they are in 50 countries. They have 6,000 restaurants, making it one of the largest pizza delivery chains in the world. So let's dive into some of the numbers. As we go into this, they have over 2,800 locations in the U.S., 6,000 globally. Their traditional units range from between 260,000 to 853,000 to get up and open. Non-traditional, which could be in like a mall, a school campus, or an airport, ranges from $111,000 to $463,000 to get up and open. Royalty is 5% of sales. Marketing fee is 6%. Again, which with like the household name brands, you're going to see this. You're going to see very, very high marketing fees, but I would imagine you get the value from them being plastered everywhere, and you not really having to do a lot to get people into your business.
No, I mean, Papa John's, they buy ads on the Super Bowl, for God's sakes, right? I mean, those cost millions of dollars. When we have a national global company and you can buy national advertising and marketing, it costs money. So again, I remember when we were at Five Guys and we started rolling, I was very excited to pay that royalty fee and the marketing fee every month because I knew I was getting something back for it. So if that scares you off and you don't want to pay these fees, then again, that's a telling sign, but it's what you get in return. And my gosh, you're getting your franchise business on an ad that's being played on the Super Bowl. That's that's value.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually had someone that's left a comment on a YouTube video recently, and they were talking about how they bought like a senior care brand. I thought their comment was interesting. And they were like, I think there's value in buying a franchise if it has a brand name, but I feel like I didn't get to benefit from that because no one in senior care does. I thought, that's interesting. There are a lot of misconceptions and kind of maybe misconstrued or ill-advised intentions on why some people may buy a franchise. A franchise is really about buying a model that has been tested and proven, not necessarily a brand name. A lot of franchise brands that people buy don't have like a known brand name. Now, their branding may be very good. Their logo and the way that they present themselves, and that's done for you. But if, you could buy a franchise for different reasons. You could buy it because you want something that has a brand name, and that's going to lead you towards a very specific subset of franchises. Or you can buy something because what's most important to you is buying into a system that has been proven, where you know that there are franchisees that have successfully duplicated the system and are happy and profitable, but the brand may not. If I wasn't in franchising, I couldn't tell you about like fencing company brands, or like common painting company brands outside of like paint companies. I'm talking about ones that actually come paint at your house. But there are many proven models under the franchise world and system that people buy because of the models and the supplier connections and things being figured out.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's funny, Tarek, when we do our presentations to, our second meeting with our candidates is we're presenting brands to them. And I say at the end of the first meeting in preparation for that brand meeting, I say, I'll bet you $1 that I'll present 6 brands to you and you'll never heard of any of these, but they're all really good opportunities with track records and tremendous validation opportunities, but you haven't heard of any. So there's your point, right? Yeah, you've heard about these big ones that are probably not realistic, but the ones that most people are jumping on, they don't know about, and that's okay too, because they're investing in the proven model that happened prior to them getting involved.
100%. We're not going to talk about ideal franchise candidate, but we will talk about the numbers. So in 2024, they disclosed 2,365 stores, and the average net royalty sales were 1.1 million for their stores. 1.1 million was the average, with the lowest performing franchisee doing $291,000. Here, let me get this little marker. I know I keep saying I'm not going to use it anymore because it doesn't quite. I'm using a different browser where I don't have it connected. But you can see here where my mouse is circling, 291 to 3 million. So top performing location does 3 million. I'm surprised. Are you surprised, Mark, that it's not higher than 3 million?
Yes, I am.
You are surprised?
I am surprised. Yes.
Yeah, I would have thought that. I would have thought that they had locations that.
Well, you would think 1 or 2 outliers would anyway. And again, keep in mind that 2,365 stores, the store has to be operating the full 12 months of the calendar year to be included, right? So they could have had closings or openings or developed stores that weren't included. But yeah, I'm surprised 3 million is the high. That doesn't seem right. But again, that's a nice number for selling pizzas.
True. Yeah. Especially if it, even if it costs you on the high end to get open at 800 grand, that's still a great,
almost 4 times.
Yeah. Great ratio. Company owned locations. So they had 513, their range of sales between 615,000 and 3.3 million. So their company locations perform a little bit better.
Yeah, and company locations, there's a variety of reasons why large brands have company locations. Sometimes they have to take over for franchise owners for whatever reason, and those become corporate stores. Some, they were always corporate stores. And again, a good franchise brand always has some corporate locations because they really feel that they need to be able to run a successful franchise. So when potential franchise owners come in and say, yeah, you know what, let's learn about your business, they can say, well, we're running a really good franchise ourselves. If there's no corporate locations, sometimes I would pause and say, well, why aren't there? So the fact that these big brands that have thousands of locations are still running corporate locations, I always think that's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. If you are thinking, well, I'm not going to buy a Papa John's, either because number one, they're too expensive, or number two, good luck trying to find a territory with a Papa John's, by the way. Right. But if you're curious to see, hey, you're thinking, hey, I want to know what sort of really good, what are the best franchises that are available in your specific area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. You'll be able to set up a free conversation with our team to be able to dive into that, and they'll be able to share some opportunities in your specific area. And then it looks like we just got a couple comments that just came in, but I'll hit this first and then we'll cover those. One is just, hey, great insights. Keep it up. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thanks, Mohammed.
Franchise secrets you need to know. So this was a video that we did with our team, with Mark and Chris, talking about starting a business from scratch. Sounds exciting until you're buried in all of the things that you have to do with that. And we talk about just franchising overall and things that you need to know if you're considering buying a franchise. There's a YouTube video version of it, or you can listen to it on a podcast platform as well by clicking there. By the way, if you don't get our franchise, this newsletter in your inbox on Sunday, you can go here and you can see this newsletter that we put out, and go click on all of these links.
Can I add one last comment, Tarek? It just
Yep.
popped in my mind as you said that. If you don't know whether or not you'd be a good franchise owner, or even if being a franchise owner is for you, I would suggest reaching out to us anyway, because we can help determine if it's the right thing for you or not. I think there's lots of people who are like, I don't think it would be for me, and there's some level of embarrassment or whatever, but we don't judge anybody. We want to talk to anybody. And if you're a potential candidate and you've got what it takes to become a successful franchise owner, we'd love to work with you. And if it turns out that you're not, for a variety of reasons, we'd give you that feedback as well.
100%. Totally agree. Yeah. The analogy that I always use is you're standing outside on the street corner. You're looking at a house thinking, should I buy that house? And it's like, well, go inside, take a look. It's hard to know until you go inside and take a look. So there's no pressure to buy. We don't pressure people to buy franchises.
No, we don't.
If anything, we turn a lot of people away and say,
that
hey,
was my point. And again, turning them away is a good thing, right? It means, you know what? Again, I use this analogy all the time. If you're playing poker and you put all your chips in the middle, you have a chance to risk losing them. If you keep them on your side of the table, you're not losing anything. So what's the risk if it's not monetary? It's just some time, and you learn a little bit about yourself. So give us a call.
Yes. And then we broke down IHOP. Did you guys even know IHOP was a franchise? For years, I didn't know until a couple of years ago that IHOP was a franchise. I thought they were all corporate run. So I made a video on how much they cost to open, how much they make on average, talking about when they pulled off their little trickery around IHOB. If you guys remember that whole marketing stunt, which was quite clever. So yeah, go check that out. Let's see. In terms of commentary, let me take off this banner. This person was saying, thinking about putting together a portfolio of neighborly brands, 3 to 4 brands plus Serpro as well. 5-Star Painting was one of the brands I'd put in the portfolio. Cool. I'd recommend don't bite off more than you can chew in the beginning. Make sure you have a strong team if you're going to pull something like that off. Mark, what would be your words of wisdom there?
I got to see I didn't really follow the comment. Was this person saying that they're putting a portfolio together? They want to buy all these brands simultaneously. Is that what they're saying? I guess I don't know I don't know what they're asking. I don't know what they're suggesting.
I don't know if they're saying that they would buy, I think, that basically they would buy multiple different neighborly brands and kind of create like their own kind of parent company of as a franchisee of multiple.
That's brands. That's what I took. And I would say exactly what you said. You know what? Start with one. It's hard enough to run a very successful business and a franchise. Get one brand under your belt. It's one of the beautiful things about a family of brands like Neighborly is once you develop a relationship with them, they would love you to invest in more of their brands. So I would say don't bite off more than you can chew. Find the one that's most aligned with what your goals and objectives are and start there, and then go accordingly, and maybe hire a manager or an equity partner to run that one, and you move on to the next. Called scalability. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I just interviewed someone today who she was basically the operator for a franchisee that was in a Neighborly brand, helped them scale that out to like 18 territories. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, yeah, if you were going to try to attempt to pull something like that off with multiple brands, you would need an operating partner for each brand, and treat them as completely separate businesses, each one.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, people at Neighborly would tell you that anyway.
Oh yeah, if they'd even allow you to do it.
If they even allow you to do it, right?
This person did also then leave a comment saying, thinking of going in a local pizza brand. What should I look for? They have 40 plus locations and are selling re-franchise locations. Mark, I'm not 100% sure what the term re-franchise locations means.
I have no idea, unless it was a franchise brand and now it's not. But when you say it's a local pizza brand with 40 locations, I don't know if does that mean there's 40 corporate locations? Are you buying all 40? Is it a franchise? I think the designer who sent this, love to answer your question. I just need a little bit more specifics, because re-franchise locations is a term I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. To re-franchise means for a company, the franchisor, to sell one or more of its company-owned stores or units to a third party, a franchisee, so they can operate the business under the original franchise agreement.
Oh, okay. So that I didn't know that was re-franchising. So what this person's saying is the corporate location has 40 and you're looking to buying one of those 40. If that's what they're saying.
I think that's the AI definition. I'm guessing what it could be, Mark, is maybe they take back stores from some franchisees or buy them back. They do something to it, improve them, maybe spruce them up, and then re-franchise them out after they made them corporate stores. That would make sense to use the term re-franchise, because when you something, it means that it was already that before, right?
And you're doing it again. Yeah. So that's probably what it is. But to answer what should I look for is really we can't give you a one-word answer on that. It would be the same type of a dialogue we have with every one of our candidates, which is due diligence. What do we know? What are you good at? Be happy to get you on our calendar and love to talk to you more about it. But you can't answer that question. What do you look for in buying a business in this format by me giving you a one-word answer? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that here's a specific resource. I'll drop the link in the comments. That will be helpful. I can tell you what not to do. Yeah. Which is our 14 franchise buying mistakes. So I dropped the link for it. It's a free resource that we have. It's the 14 franchise buying mistakes that could destroy your investment and how to avoid them. So go download that, check that out, look through it. And oftentimes by learning what not to do, you in turn learn what to do.
Yeah. And also ask yourself this question, designer: Why do you want to be in the pizza business? What's motivating you to be in that business? Are your skill sets aligned with that business? Do you want to work 7 days a week, 15 hours a day forever? Is that what you want? Is that not what you want? So again, lots of questions, lots to unpack. I would love to chat with you further about it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This one was a long one, but I feel like we added a lot of value, Mark.
We did. We did some ad libbing on this one.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Tarek.